Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my family they are never going to be part of me or my son's life? Original post. In 2020, I, 30 male, did something horrible to my family by stealing from them to fund my addiction. I stole some electronics, including old cell phones, a game console, and a Blu-ray player to buy heroin. I cannot and will not justify these actions and fully accept them as my own and their consequences. I was caught, and my family became aware of my addiction. It was hard to see my parents realize what was happening, but the hardest was seeing how heartbroken my 17-year-old little sister was. They dropped me off at a rehab center where I spent 3 months getting detoxed and sober. I did not hear from them while I was in there. I tried calling to let them know how I was, but I never received an answer. The day I got out, I went back home. My family there informed me that they would no longer be considering me a member of the family, and that I was to leave the home and not contact any of them for any reason. I attempted to stay with other family, but when I contacted my grandparents, I was told that my parents had called them and several others to tell them that if they kept in contact with me in any capacity, they would cut off contact with them as well. I was able to see how my sister was doing via my mother's Facebook posts, but after liking one, I was messaged and told that I was allowed to look at the posts, but all other family members would be blocking me, and I was not to interact with my mother's posts. I was completely destroyed and left on the streets. I stayed in a homeless shelter and got a menial job, enough to get a rundown apartment, and slowly put my life together. I went through therapy to process the extreme grief I felt. I focused on work and did school online enough to finish my degree from when I dropped out at 21. I was able to secure a very good position several states away and moved there as soon as I could. 3 years ago, I met the woman who is now my wife. Her father went through a similar struggle with addiction, and her family welcomed me with open arms. Last year, we got married, and 3 months ago, we welcomed our son into the world. Of course, being a proud new dad, I posted my boy all over social media to show him off to the world. Since then, I've been inundated with calls and messages telling me that my parents want to meet my son. I have no plans to allow that. My family abandoned me at my lowest and actively worked to cut me off from any familial support I could have had. I am not owed forgiveness for my actions, but I can't pretend that what they did was anything less than complete disownment of me at my most vulnerable. I told them, not very politely, that I do not consider them my real family, and that they are to come nowhere near me, my wife, our son, or anyone related to us. I've been getting messages daily about how I never earned their love back and am cheating them out of having a son again, and thus I owe this to them, from my parents and others. I am not giving in at all, nor do I ever plan to. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Have your parents or any other members of your old family even apologized for totally shunning you? Not the a-hole. No, I have not heard from any of my relatives in the 5 years between then and now. They have blocked me on everything. My mother allows me to view her social media posts because I want to see how my sister is doing, that is all. If the parents really want to meet your child, they will apologize. What about your sister? Any contact with her? No, my sister has not been allowed to have any social media since she was young, and so she does not use it as an adult. I see events like her college graduation and birthday updates on my mother's Facebook, and that's all. She has not reached out to me. Edit/mini update. There's been a lot of replies along a broad spectrum of opinions and takes. I may not have replied to them all, but I did read them all. For now, I am stepping back. My wife and I have decided that we are going to speak with my parents via a video call and discuss the past 5 years and where everyone stands as of today to gauge where we all are and decide how to move forward. I'll be taking everything I've read here into consideration in how I decide to approach this situation. I've seen a lot of people wanting updates. I will post an update on this when the dust has settled and I can say with some certainty what's going to be happening. Thank you all for your words of kindness and otherwise. Every one of them is appreciated. Now for the update 2 weeks later. A little bit back, I posted a thread on this sub. I want to thank everyone for their words, both kind and unkind. I look back on that post and feel like I did not hit the mark in some areas for how I expressed myself and the situation, and so it was interpreted in wildly different ways by different people. I initially wanted to address those, but to be honest, I'm ready to leave this behind, so I'm not going to do that. The only thing I will add clarity to, since it came up several times, My family did not pay for my stay in rehab. I was making less than $20,000 per year, and my employer only offered an HSA for health benefits, so I qualified for Medicaid and had been on that since I moved out of the house. Medicaid in my state pays for the cost of inpatient rehab, and this is how my treatment was funded. For the sake of brevity, and so that I don't dwell on it longer than I should, I will briefly run through some relevant context and a short summary of what my father expressed to me during our conversation. To add some context that I think explains his mindset, I will give some of my father's history here. He came from China to the US to attend college and fell in love with the country. My father hates China and communism. He saw America as a land where he could have the opportunity to thrive in ways he couldn't in his home country. So he married an American woman and stayed here, starting his own business. My father's dream was that one day he would pass this business down to his son, then to his grandson, continually passed down as his legacy. He was very much a tiger parent, and my mother, having always been very submissive, followed suit. I had been told from a young age that this is what my future would be, and my life was curated around it, down to what university I would attend and my major. All of this will give context to my father's position. The call was just me, my wife, and my father. It was a long and awkward conversation, but here is the gist of it. My father regards my bisexuality and my decision to not finish college as direct actions of ungratefulness toward his efforts in raising me, and feels that I have not been thankful that he did not take action against me earlier. Me being bisexual still left room to marry a woman and have children, so he did not interfere with it. He could still teach me how to manage the business even if I needed to hire others to help with the physical labor involved with it, so he got past the fact that I dropped out of college. However, it was not the stealing that broke the camel's back to him, it was the fact that I used drugs at all. He was upset that I had stolen from the house, but to him, it was ultimately inconsequential compared to me abusing a substance. The fact that I used drugs at all meant that I could not be trusted with his legacy, and since I could not contribute to the family legacy, it was necessary to cut me out of the family entirely to avoid the shame of having an addict among them. He made it clear that this is how he felt then, and that his feelings have not changed, nor will they ever change, no matter how clean I stay or how successful I become, because I ruined his dream. Despite this, I owe him a debt of gratitude by leaving the family vacant of a son to pass his legacy down to. Now that I have a son of my own, there is potential that my father's legacy could be passed down to him. As someone who used drugs, this necessitates him and my mother stepping in to ensure my son is properly raised into the position I was to inherit. I did not get to speak to my mother to ask her about the messages she had sent me. The call ended pretty abruptly when my wife realized that it wasn't a conversation that would go anywhere. I was in a bad spot for the weekend after that Friday night. I cannot express with words how thankful I am that my wife was there to help me stay sane. I am going to spend the rest of my life doing every possible thing I can to be as much of a rock for her as she is for me. Right now, most of that is in the form of taking on any and all housework, in addition to doing my part to take care of the baby while her body recovers. As our son grows up, I'll keep finding new ways to let her know how much I appreciate her. As for the future, this is what we've decided. On my part, I'm going to work a lot less. For those wondering, I ended up being a technical writer, and it's a job I'm quite good at. It also pays for us to live very comfortably, even if I go well below a full-time work schedule. When I met my wife, I used work as my distraction. Marco Pierre White was correct when he said work is the best painkiller mankind has ever come up with. However, I don't think this is a healthy way to cope now that I have a child. I've decided I'll use the extra time off work to attend an extra therapy session every week for more intensive treatment and to help develop some better coping mechanisms that don't involve me working myself into an early grave. As for our son, we have decided that my parents will not be a part of his life for the foreseeable future. We aren't sure what we will tell him, but as he grows up and we see more of his personality, we plan to speak with a counselor who has experience in child psychology to find a way to approach the subject that won't be distressing or confusing for him. A lot of people mentioned the idea of me taking my wife's name. We floated that for a bit, but ultimately, we've decided that we will be choosing a new family name entirely. It feels like more of a fresh start for a new legacy. We aren't sure which name we will go with yet, but we hope to have that done by the end of the year. And honestly, that's pretty much it. There isn't much else to report. I know this update will get a wide range of responses. Sorry to disappoint, but I will not be reading or responding to any of them. I know the man I've become. I know I am a capable father and loving husband. I know I have a disease that puts me at a disadvantage when it comes to anyone's trust or respect because of my choices in the past, and I know that despite them, I will continue to be the best man I can be for my family. And as much as I appreciate all the responses, I don't need to hear strangers on Reddit praise or condemn me to know that it's true. I'm going to log out of this account after posting this, and I will not be logging back in. Thanks for reading. Next story. Update. Am I the a-hole for calling my brother selfish for refusing to split our inheritance with our stepsister? Original post. My father died recently and left everything to my brother and me. My dad got serious with my stepmother when I was 11. My dad has raised my stepsister since she was 6, and even though I was 11, I came to see and call my stepmother my real mom, and I know my sister feels the same about dad. When mom died, she left everything to him, and I don't know why, but dad changed his will to leave everything to me and my brother. My brother and I were always accepted and treated equally by her and her family. Our grandparents on her side have always treated us equally and definitely included us as equal grandchildren. Obviously, my sister was really hurt. She saw him as her real dad and thought he saw us as equal, but apparently he didn't. So I tried to talk to my brother, and we should give her her third, even if dad didn't include it. He refused because it's not what dad wanted. She could inherit from the rest of her family and whatnot. But I think it's unreasonable and unfair. I mean, it includes assets and money originally from mom. Plus, mom's will stated that if dad died before her, it would be split among us equally. She didn't just favor her biological daughter over us. I got upset and called him greedy and selfish for going along with excluding her. We had a big fight after that, and my fiancé thinks I'm in the wrong. She thinks I should accept their choice and do what my father wanted. That I'm being an a-hole by insulting my brother and disagreeing. I can't agree. It feels like I'm betraying my sister and mom. Am I really the a-hole here? Edit for clarity. By my mom left everything to dad, I was referring to my stepmother, whom I earlier said was my real mom and have only referred to. Sorry if it was unclear. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Nobody is stopping you giving a share based on half of what she would have gotten, but you can't force your brother to. If it means that much to you, then of course you'll split your share. If your brother ever changes his mind, he can give her the portion of the third he currently has. Lead by example, and if he doesn't follow, that's his prerogative. No, you're not the a-hole, unless there was a really good reason your father cut her off. Otherwise, he decided to steal her inheritance from her, and she deserves restitution. If he has any, he never told us. As far as I knew, he was treating her as a daughter until he died. I mean, hell, I used to half-jokingly call her his favorite. Hold on, was it originally your stepmother's money? Whose money was it originally? Also, what country are you in? I'm in the US, and in my state, depending on these circumstances, she would have a legal claim. Need clarification. I'm from Australia. To my understanding, she doesn't fit the criteria for family provision, since she's not dependent on him, so I don't think she can contest the will. And it includes my stepmother's money. My bio mother is still alive and no inheritance yet. Not that I really want any from her. Depending on the state, she would be able to make a claim. In New South Wales, it's called the Family Provisions Act, which she should fall under as she was a dependent on his household from a young age. I've seen successful claims like this many times in my line of work. I would recommend she consult with a lawyer, as she'd likely get something by trying, even if it isn't the full third. Most solicitors would do the initial consult for free, and there are plenty of no-win, no-fee places out there. Yeah, but she's not dependent currently. My basic understanding is that you kind of need more of a reason than just being their kid, especially as a stepchild, if you're like a non-student adult. Granted, my focus was not in family law. I did an elective on succession law like a decade ago, so might have changed since, or I've just forgotten. Otherwise, I can consider it, though admittedly I would rather not get lawyer involved. Now for the update. I know it's a bit of a delay, but thanks everyone for the responses. I appreciate everyone taking the time to offer thoughts and judgments, even if I don't agree with everything. Also, for clarity, the inheritance included money and assets from my stepmother. I call her mom, not my bio mother. She left everything to Dad because, at the time, they had identical wills that left everything to their partner, or to the kids equally if they survived their partner. After the post, I gave my brother a few days for us to calm down and to see if his mind would change, but it didn't. So I decided to talk to my sister. On advice from a commenter, I brought up suing under family provision, but she was against it and basically said the money isn't worth the time and money in court. So I told her I would just give her half of my inheritance. She tried to reject it, but I insisted, and she ended up accepting. We talked a lot about everything and our parents. She was angry and sad enough to cry just trying to understand why Dad did what he did. I reassured her that whatever Dad thought, she's my little sister. I love her, and nothing would change that. Neither of us understands why this happened or what his reasoning was, but she's definitely happy and appreciative that I don't feel the same. Next week, I'm going to see someone to find the best way to give it to her to minimize losing a chunk to taxes and whatnot, but so far, I think I'm making the right decision. As for my brother, I just can't accept his choice. With how many people thought I was overreacting or wrong to expect him to do differently, maybe I'm being unreasonable. But I just can't see him the same way now. He gladly chose money over his sibling, over his family. He clearly doesn't care about the unfairness to our sister. Maybe it'll change, but right now I just can't stand to be around him. I hope the money makes him happy, because that's clearly what he loves more. Unfortunately, the situation hasn't changed too much, but I feel a lot more confident in my choice. While my fiancé still ultimately thinks it would be best to follow Dad's wishes, she understands that I want to do right by my sister and is alright with it. I'm glad I wasn't completely crazy or irrational in wanting a just outcome for my sister. For now, I plan to be there for my sister and make it clear I see her as a sister and actually love her. She deserves it with everything she's going through. As much as I feel from this, it must be much worse for her, and she doesn't deserve it. Thank you all for the responses, judgments, and advice. Your brother is showing you exactly who he is, and you should believe him. Good on you for doing right by your sister. That takes actual character. The money will be gone eventually, but she'll always remember you had her back when it mattered. Thanks. While there is a small part of me that hesitated, that's how most of me feels. I definitely hope she realizes how much she means to me. I guarantee she realizes how much she means to you. Actions always speak louder than words. You gave up half of your inheritance to her because it was right. Your brother is an a-hole here, particularly when some of her own mother's assets are in the estate. I would not talk to your brother going forward, or if you do, don't ever trust him with anything. He's shown in the end that he's a selfish individual. Thanks, I hope you're right. But given I honestly thought she was Dad's favorite, I can understand if she doesn't fully accept it straight away. Like she's clearly appreciative, but I'd understand if a part of her was wary, you know.